I now call the February 24th, 2026 meeting of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education to order. Board Member Witherspoon will be participating by simultaneous communication via Teams. There being no opposition to any items on the agenda, it is adopted by unanimous consent. I turn to Dr. Hill for acknowledgement of our students this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are so excited to recognize middle school students who are taking Math 1, and these students have made incredible gains as it relates to their Math 1 performance. Students, when I call your name, please stand to be recognized and remain standing just for a little minute so our photographer can grab your picture. At the very end, we'll ask all of our students to stand, as well as all of the parents and families that are here, as well as the teachers and administrators that are here as well. We'll give you one big round of applause. All right. Oh, I always forget this part. Please hold your applause until the end so we can recognize all of our students at one time. All right. First student, Adriana Fudella, Crestel Middle. Bexy Guzman Cardoza, Quail Hollow Middle. Brian Molina, Crestel Middle. Derek Valerio, Whitewater Middle. Douglas Lysiona, McClintock Middle. Eden Vanderlutz, Oaklawn Language Academy. Elenia Greenhagen, J.M. Robinson. Jared Belangia, Northridge Middle. Jocelyn Chavez, McClintock Middle. Kiara Taylor, Crestel. Kinley Panovich, Quail Hollow. Kayvon Thompson, Piedmont IB. Madison Taylor, Crestel Middle. Makel Pereza, North Academy of World Languages. Rayvon Nashville, Northridge Middle. Ryan DeCudras, Carmel Middle. Stephanie Aguilera Rivas, McClintock Middle. Ty Williams, Piedmont IB. Tyron Blocker, Ranson Middle. Valerie Gamboa, Northridge Middle. Victoria Rory Crestel Middle. Wedme Calandria Mejia, Wilson STEM Academy. And Zaria Inman, Renaissance West STEAM Academy. Will all of our students please stand to be recognized, as well as families, parents, administrators, all the families. We want to thank you so much for being here this evening. What you have done is not anything small. It's a really, really big deal. And I just want to make sure that you all understand the resilience that it's taken you to get to this point. We want you to keep it up. And part of that is doing your homework and getting a lot of sleep. So we're going to dismiss you at this time to go finish your homework, get some sleep, and we'll see you bright and early in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love that.
The consent agenda items have been presented in advance. Is there A motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Haynes, second by Rankin. All those in favor by show of hands. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk, with 7. Can't see them. I turn to Dr. Hill for a personnel appointment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This evening, we have 2 executive staff members to introduce. The first is Dr. Patrice Faison as our new Associate Superintendent of Student Services. Dr. Faison is currently serving as the Assistant Superintendent of High School Performance Area. She has 29 years in education. She has served as a Chief Academic Officer, sometime as a Superintendent as well as a Principal. And she holds a doctorate degree in education from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Next, we have Dr. Elenia Daniels. Dr. Daniels is the new Assistant Superintendent of Elementary School Performance Area D. Dr. Daniels has 23 years in education. She is currently serving as the Executive Director of Pre-K Programs and Services, and also has served in a neighboring district as a Federal Programs Director as well as a Principal. She holds a doctorate degree in Educational Leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Congratulations to Dr. Faison and Dr. Daniels.
Thank you. I turn to Dr. Hill for the financial statements, November 25 and December of 2025.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the budget amendments for FY 26.
As presented.
It was January of FY 26. Contracts and change orders report for January 6, 2026 through February 6, 2026. I turn to Dr. Hill.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the Student Outcomes Focused Governance Guardrail 1, Interim Measure 1.3.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the Student Focused Outcomes Governance Goal 3, Interim Measure 3.1.
Thank you, Madam Chair, again, and members of the board. Good evening to everyone who's here tonight. Tonight's report highlights Goal 3, Interim Measure 3.1, with a focus on accelerating success in Middle School Math 1. We're excited to welcome Principal Armbruster and Assistant Principal Young, who will share how South Charlotte is leveraging high-impact practices to drive strong outcomes for their Math 1 scholars.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Hill. Thank you. I am Jane Armbruster, the South Charlotte principal. I am joined tonight by my assistant principal, Kim Young. We are truly honored to share the work of our Math 1 team, educators who have so much to celebrate. Their commitment to growth mindset, deep collaboration, and strong accountability structures has led to this meaningful gain in student learning. So tonight, Ms. Young will highlight 2 key instructional practices driving our success: systems that build teacher capacity and clear structures that strengthen student accountability. Please join me in welcoming Assistant Principal Young as she shares how these high leverage practices are producing strong outcomes for our Math 1 students.
Good evening. Building teacher capacity is essential for ensuring that our teams have the knowledge, the skills, and confidence to continuously strengthen our instructional program. Our Math Master Teacher and our 3 Math 1 teachers bring several years of middle school experience teaching Math 1, and they've demonstrated consistent high growth each year. We've established strong weekly professional learning team meetings anchored in a clear, focused agenda centered on data-driven decision-making. And during these meetings, teachers calibrate their understanding of standards, they analyze student work, and they identify strategies to address misconceptions when students don't meet the benchmarks. These meetings are purposeful, they're efficient, and they're grounded in deep preparation, resulting in confident, high-quality instruction. We also utilize a continuously updated data tracking spreadsheet to identify trends and monitor student progress and ensure that we are on track to meet our school improvement goals. This intentional work translates directly into classrooms where teachers, and this is the key, know their students well, and it shows. If you were to walk into our Math 1 classrooms, you're going to see teachers actively holding students accountable for their learning, and this includes pulling small groups for targeted instruction, facilitating academic discourse, and encouraging collaborative problem solving. Teachers provide multiple pathways to demonstrate understanding, and they scaffold questions to deepen student understanding or to surface misconceptions. Our Math 1 teachers, we are so proud of them. Ms. Pierce, Dr. Bachmach, and Mrs. Less have cultivated a classroom culture where students take academic risks, engage collaboratively, and they connect their learning to real-world scenarios. To support our students who need additional reinforcement, the teachers analyze both quantitative and qualitative or observational data to identify learners who would benefit from re-engagement. And these re-engagement opportunities are sessions that primarily occur during our flexible grouping time in the academic enrichment block, and they allow teachers and students to dive deeply into misconceptions that they were shown on the MBPA or the Math 1 midterm or common unit assessments. So at South Charlotte Middle, our success in Math 1 is no accident. It's the result of intentional systems, empowered educators, and our students who rise to high expectations every day. And we're not just improving outcomes, we are building confident mathematicians prepared for the future.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for highlighting the exceptional work that you're doing. All right, as previously stated, this monitoring report is focused on Goal 3, Interim Measure 3.1. This 5-year goal is to increase the percent of students scoring CCR on Math 1 end-of-course assessments from 27% in June 2023 to 57% in June 2029. Tonight, I'm reporting out on the results from our first MVPA benchmark assessment of the school year. These assessments were administered in November and December. First, I'll share our overall Goal 3 performance for middle and high school combined. This graph shows the percentage of students achieving college and career ready, of course that's level 4 and 5, on the first benchmark this year compared to the CMS annual targets for this year. 34% of middle school and high school students are projected to reach CCR based on the first MVPA assessment. This projection of 34% is 5 percentage points higher than the end-of-year performance for middle and high school students at the end of last year. We need to further improve our CCR percent by 8 additional percentage points to reach the 25-26 target. Here we're taking a look at the total number of students, which is 7,391 students who took the first Math 1 MVPA benchmark this year. To achieve our target of 42%, 3,105 students need to achieve CCR, and currently we have 2,517 students that are projected to be CCR. Therefore, we need 588 students while maintaining the level of those who are currently reaching CCR. Now, there's two charts that are like this, so let me just explain this. This chart is focused just on the students who took the benchmark, and as we'll discuss later when we get to questions, this is a look at our total number of students. So as you all know, this goal is taking a look at all students who take Math 1. However, not all students have taken the benchmark because some of them are in different courses in our high school. So here you see, to achieve the entire goal, we need 2,101 additional students to reach our target. Now let's take a look, focusing specifically on Math 1 for middle school. This graph shows the percentage of students achieving CCR compared to the CMS annual targets. Currently, 73% of students in grades 6 through 8 are projected to reach CCR based on the first benchmark assessment. This projection is a decrease of 1% over end-of-year Math 1
end-of-course performance by students in grades 6 through 8. This year's annual target for 6 through 8 is 80%. We need to improve the percentage of students who are CCR by 7% to reach this year's target. It should be noted that the projected percent of students college and career ready last year on the first benchmark was only 65%. So last year we were at 65% first benchmark, this year we're at 73%. Therefore, we are confident that we will meet our goal, but currently, based on our rules, we are off track. Here's a look specifically at our middle school students and the number of students that we still need to be able to reach our goal, 174 students. At this time, I am going to stop and turn it over to Chair Sneed to facilitate questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Board members, I turn to you for questions. Any backwards questions? Oh, I want to see you, sorry. Board Member Stone.
On slide 10, you've identified that we're 7 percentage points away from meeting our interim goal target. What do we know about the students reflected in this data? Who's struggling the most, who's growing the most, and who may not be moving at all?
Thank you, Ms. Stone. If we can actually go to slide 11, I think we'll be able to better respond to that question. So let me just provide a breakdown of the numbers here. So again, we're looking at middle school students. That first number is the total number of students. Currently, we have 1,858 students who are currently CCR. So in order for us to meet our target, we need those students to maintain their projection, keep their place in line. And then we have 174 additional students that we need to meet the target. So we know that it is possible because we had, if we had 386 students who were grade level proficient on our first MVPA. So that means that they are right there. So if we just get an additional 45% of those 386 students who were projected, we would meet this year's annual target. So what I will say is that in terms of middle school Math 1, we do not have any students who we would characterize as struggling because in order to be in this course, Math 1, of course, is a high school course. These are students that are already on an accelerated track. So we wouldn't have any students in this group that would be considered struggling. However, we do have students that are not yet college and career ready.
Vice Chair Rankin, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, sorry.
Since these 174 students to reach their goal of 80%, how predictable is this compared to the EOG predictability? Because they're making EOG scores great, but this doesn't look like they will. So is there a disconnect between, what do you think the disconnect might be between the MPVA scores and the EOC course? EOCs?
Well, the MVPA is not something that we just give in CMS. It is a widely used assessment across the state of North Carolina, so it has a high predictability rate. We feel confident in every year that we give it, the more predictable the assessment is because we're more the way that we're administering it, the rules that we're using are more stringent, so you get better every year, so your predictability. I do not have any concerns about the predictability of the assessment. It is giving great data in terms of predicting where we'll be, and it also gives excellent data for teachers to use in the classroom. The team does an excellent job. If we want to go to some of those slides in the back in the appendix, based on the type of data that they get, knowing exactly where students are and what they need to do in order to get them to the next step. So I do not have any concerns about the actual assessment and the value of the assessment and predicting where students will be.
So we're overachieving. We could say that maybe.
I would not say we're overachieving. I wouldn't say we're overachieving. In fact, based on our rules, we're actually off track. And let me explain why we're off track. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. So if we can go back to the bar graph on slide 9, you will see that this red off track. So this, wait till we get there, I'm sorry. Slide 9. Thank you. So you'll see the 73%, our target is 80, but the blue bar from last year is 74%. So what this is actually comparing is last year's EOC scores to our first benchmark. And because our first benchmark is lower than last year's EOC scores by 1 percentage point, that for our business rules, that would be considered off track.
Yeah.
However, if we take a look at our first benchmark from last year, we are at 65%. This year, we're at 73%. So year over year, if you're just comparing first benchmark last year to first benchmark this year, we're already 8 percentage points higher. So even if we only continue at the current rate that we did last year, we would meet our target. So I believe that we are going to exceed our target of 80% based on the data.
Thank you.
Board Member Monterey Duval.
My question actually is related to Board Member Stone's. When we look at the strategic adjustments, so I think we've identified that we've made progress,
Yes.
right? When we look at the strategic adjustments made last year versus this year, in terms of particularly high-quality instruction, are we doing anything differently that is getting us to that progress so that we can replicate it and scale it?
Yes.
Slide 14.
Yes, thank you very much. So on slide 14, you will see, actually, on slide 13 and on slide 14, you see our bricks that are you've named them, Board Member Monterey Duval bricks, so that's what we call them. Our theory of change bricks on slide 13. But to your point, on slide 14, there are so many that we've pulled it out and put a separate slide just for this one. So I can just talk about some of the strategic adjustments that we've made in terms of high-quality core instruction. So one of the big shifts is the emphasis on small group instruction. So you heard the team from just a second ago speak to that. So there's a shift definitely in small group instruction. All professional development that we're providing for our master teachers and our specialists as well as our teachers is through the lens of small group instruction. The other intentional shift that we have made is really taking a look on specifically about how we are providing feedback on the high leverage strategies, and that of course is done by our master teachers and our specialists when they're going in to for their core action walks. The other thing that I would definitely lift is structurally in terms of the instructional day. You also heard reference to each school has a time that's set apart for, like, some of them call it enrichment and intervention, some call it win time, what I need. There's an additional block of time, and during that time, in addition to their regular core instruction, there's also heavy emphasis specifically for these Math 1 students on small group instruction. So because it's one of the board's goals, we know it's really critically important for them to be college and career ready. Those are some of the shifts that we've made. The other thing that I do want to point out in terms of how we are scheduling students for courses, I think is something that's critical that we've done that's actually not in your report tonight, but I did want to make mention. So students that are in middle school who are taking Math 1 are accelerated because it's a high school course that they're taking in middle school. We have always had criteria, and in fact, there is legislation that requires any student who scores a 5 on their 7th grade end of grade test, 7th grade end of grade test, we're required to give them an accelerated math, which would be Math 1. So those students are already in Math 1. But in addition to that, we have some set criteria, and any students that meet 3 of that set criteria, also we widen the net and give students who have demonstrated promise to be successful in a high school course in middle school, those students are already in that course. Does that make sense? So we're being very strategic in ensuring across every single school, no matter what school it is, that we are making sure that if kids meet this criteria, at least 3 of them, we're placing them in that Math 1 course. That does 2 things. We're making sure that we're capturing those students that have the capability to be successful, but we're also making sure that students that are doing great, who may need an 8th grade honors math class, regular math, aren't accelerated to a Math 1. Does that make sense?
Yes, and are we doing the reverse for students that we think are at risk of not succeeding in Math 1 and
Yes, they have. Yes, students have to meet this criteria in middle school to be in this course.
I see. Okay, cool. Thank you.
I have a question that's about the targeted number of students. It's really kind of related to slide 9 and slide 11. We don't track data this way in a sense of, it's by the grade level as a whole as opposed to by school. Are there certain, what strategies have you noticed that are, or what are the differentiators by school in terms of those that are in Math 1 and are in, that are meeting the goal for Math 1? Does that make sense? So I'm trying to see if it's any differentiations by school and what strategies are you using today? Like, so is it particular schools that have more success rates at Math 1, college and career readiness, as opposed to other schools? And how do you make up that differentiator?
Yeah, so for math, let me just say this. We should be 100% CCR in 8th grade Math 1 at every single school. Period, and end of story. The only reason we may not be 100% Math 1 at every single school is at the end of the year when these students take the EOC, if they score a 4 or 5, done, right? If they are non-proficient, which would have to be a fluke for kids to be non-proficient in Math 1 in middle school, but they happen to score a 3, they do not have the opportunity to retest. So the only reason we would not meet 100% CCR in 8th grade math is on the first time a kid got a 3 and they didn't get a 4 or 5, because you cannot retest if you pass. Does that make sense? So, so specifically to answer your question, the criteria that we have put in place is to ensure that all students, no matter what school that they are at, have the opportunity to be in a Math 1 course. And we've been really focused on making sure that the level and quality of instruction that kids are getting at every one of our middle schools in Math 1 is at the same level.
Did you have a question?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
On the exact same slide, so you said that last year's first benchmark test was 74%, or already 8% lower than the first benchmark test of this year, correct? The scores?
Opposite, we're 8% higher. Yes.
Sorry. So what strategies is it that we've changed, and how can we ensure that we will maintain that status of being 8% or more higher than the previous benchmarks?
Yes, so that would be on our theory of change slides, which would be 13 and 14. So these theory of change, these pieces were not in place last year. So all of these things, let me back up. we had high-quality specialists, we had all these things, but they were not strategies that we had built out, that we were collecting data on and making strategic adjustments. So each one of these bricks, these are all the things that are new this year, and every single time that we're collecting data, we're going through a continuous improvement process where we're learning from what's actually happening. We're learning from our core action walks. We're learning from the data collection. We're learning from qualitative data that our teachers, master teachers, and specialists are providing in terms of feedback back to us. And that's when we're getting these strategic adjustments. So the thing that I love about this process, it's a process of continuous improvement. We're constantly learning through all of our cycles, and each time we're getting stronger and stronger, which of course what the team spoke to, and that's how I am confident that this year we will, for middle school, exceed that 80% target. I feel confident in that.
All right, do we have any forward-looking questions? Board Member Hatch?
Thank you, Dr. Hill. So I'm just curious around what our principals and teachers are telling us about the Math One strategy right now. What's working well? What are they experiencing that could affect consistency and sustainability across all the schools? I think you kind of touched on it, but just hearing from the principal teacher voice.
Yes, so you had an opportunity to hear from principal and assistant principal this evening, so of course they speak to it. The one thing that I would say from a systems perspective that we have in place is whenever we administer a benchmark, we have our data analysis days, and that's a time where our master teachers, our instructional leadership teams, whoever the school deems those folks to be, they're coming together, they're taking a look at their data, they're looking at it to see what worked, what didn't work, what adjustments do we need to make. Then all of our principals then are reporting out on that data with their school performance teams. And again, that is a time for them to take meeting, target, actual, please explain. But it's also an opportunity for them to share what worked, what didn't work, and any strategic adjustments they need to make. One of the things that our assistant superintendents have implemented in each of their performance areas is they have a spotlight on schools that have seen tremendous growth and some things that are really working well as anecdotally from multiple pieces of data, anecdotally what the data is actually telling us, the core action walks, all those things put together, and they have an opportunity to share. So the thing that I think I'm most proud about in this process is that the educators are actually learning from each other, which is, it's important that you have a level of push and pull, but the people that are in the school are the people that are doing the work. So that's who we have to turn to understand what's working, what's not working, what strategic adjustments do we need to make. So their voice matters, and the things that they share, we're definitely making those changes because we know that if we aren't listening and we aren't learning from them, then we're never going to achieve the goals, which of course won't be beneficial to our students.
Vice Chair Rankin?
I'm on slide 14 under high quality core instruction. Under the last bullet point under strategic adjustments. Can you talk through how this particular strategic adjustment is being utilized or will be utilized to get us to our actual target for this group?
Yes, so we have, based on the data, so in previous monitoring reports, I've talked about the data dashboard, and again, hearing from teachers and principals, they have said, how much more data can you give us so we know exactly who needs what and when and what strategic adjustments we need to make? So what we have done is we have identified but they might be a 4-, meaning they're right on they're right on the bubble. They may have an opportunity to go back to grade level proficient. So we've identified those students, and they are receiving that small group support, and the people that are providing those support, it's either going to be the specialists, master teachers, or the multi-classroom leaders. And so if you'll recall, last year, we, towards the last couple of weeks of the school year, we had a lot of our specialists go into schools and they were pulling small groups. Well, we've basically implemented that earlier, and beginning next year, that's just going to be our way of being. Instead of waiting towards the end of the year to push in for small group, we'll just do that on a more consistent basis. I hope that's answering your question.
You good. So I have a follow-up.
Okay.
So just want to make sure you're saying what I think you're saying. So when I see the word intensive, and, you know, and additional support, I normally think of those students specifically that are not proficient, that receive those intensive supports. Are you saying that also, let's say that the 588 that's in the other slide, they'll be also receiving that small group instruction to get them to the 4 and 5?
That's a great question.
In addition to those students who require intensive, because normally
Yeah.
the intensive students are the ones that get that additional small
Yes,
group.
that is an excellent question, Board Member Rankin. So you're talking about the MTSS triangle, and intensive support would be those people, those kids that are in need of most support.
Yes.
Right? But that triangle of 80% is assuming that 80% of the kids are on grade level. Well, in this case, pretty much 100% of the kids are on grade level. We're not talking grade level. Grade level is,
Okay.
we're reaching for
Yeah.
CCR. So when we say intensive support, those students are already on grade level. They're already proficient. They're getting intensive support so they can be college and career ready, the 100% that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Great question.
Yes.
Thanks, these are great questions. Since the Math 1 teachers are doing some reteaching of concepts that maybe are unfinished learning from prior years in math, how do you see that affecting PD going for the Math 1 teachers, especially at the 8th grade level, being modified or changed going forward?
One of the things that the team does in their planning is they identify prior to each unit being taught any misconceptions, because they're common misconceptions. So for students that are taking Math 1, 9 times out of 10, there's not major gaps, but there might be some misconceptions, and those misconceptions may lead to students not being college and career ready, or them facing issues as they get into more advanced math, Math 3, pre-calc, things like that. So one of the things, they have it up on the slide here, is they have videos that they use to take a look at anything that they might find as a deficit or anything that might be a common misconception. These videos are available for the teacher, but they're also available for students to go back and take a look at. We also use them in the event if students have missed school for any particular reason as an opportunity for a reteach and re-engagement. And then some schools are also using this with any adults that may not be specialists or whomever to push in. Parents can use these videos as well. The thing that I really want to point out is the teams are getting really skilled at looking ahead and identifying ahead based on previous data. These are common misconceptions. And so if you already know they're going to have these common misconceptions, let's plan ahead so they don't have these misconceptions moving forward.
Thanks. That's good.
Mr. Rankin.
This is on slide 13. Looking under student engagement, the strategic adjustment, the second bullet point, continued use of the standard treatment protocol to intervene with students at risk. Can you talk through this particular bullet point and kind of clarify at risk? That's a very broad.
Great question. Yes, another great question. So when we're looking at the MTSS framework, we are typically looking at 3 areas. We're looking at academics, we're looking at behavior, and then in this case, we're looking at attendance.
Okay.
So when we say at risk, we're looking at the number of days students have missed based on our standard treatment protocol. And so we've shown it before, but you remember it's if students miss 1 day, we do this. If they miss 2 to 3 days, we do this, and then the colors change. And so I think after day 6, 7, it changes to red. We start looking at that student as at risk. So there are standard treatment protocol interventions that we put in place that trigger when we implement certain interventions with the student and the family and any other social worker, whomever might be necessary if students are missing school. So when we say at risk there, we're not necessarily saying at risk for failure academically, but it may lead to that because it's in the attendance bucket.
Okay, thank you.
So I just have one question. What is as you're comparing the growth that's already occurred, considering the last benchmarks comparatively to last year, but looking forward, now we have the 174 students that we're trying to move to CCR. What is the what is the highest level strategy or the single most strategy that you believe is going to move those 174 students? And I'm assuming those are across the district and not concentrating in one area. Can you identify how you're going to do that with fidelity across the district for those 174 students?
Yes, ma'am. So the highest leverage strategy would be high-quality core instruction, specifically focused on small group instruction. So using small group instruction to support areas that the data says that students need the additional support. I believe we have 67 or so days left in school, and we have 3 assistant superintendents that are tasked with making it happen. And they're head nodding me right now. You see them putting their thumbs up. So the consistency across all the schools in the district line up to 3 people. Dr. Jackie Jones, soon to be Dr. Jackie Jones, Jennifer Dean Willoughby, and Dr. Kim Vaught. Dr. Carroll is the interim in that role. But those are the 3 people that are tasked with ensuring that all of these things that we're talking about are actually happening in the school. So they're the ones that are in the schools multiple times a week along with their executive directors. They know who the students are by name. The principals know who those students are by name. The principals know what to do. They're shaking their heads. They know, as we were in a meeting and somebody said, we know and we understand the assignment. So that's how we ensure the consistency. They are very close. They are rowing in the same direction. That does not mean that every school loses their identity and they lose their culture. That's not what I'm talking about. But what we're saying is we've identified the high leverage strategies and we are focused on implementing those high leverage strategies across the entire district so we can exceed our target of 80%, which I believe will be much higher than 80%.
So as a follow-up, you indicated that small groups
Yes.
is the leader in that strategy. Knowing that, well, maybe this is not the case. Math is one of our most difficult positions to fill at CMS. How are we assuring that we have the resources to have that Math 1 teacher in the classroom, and then there's different personnel that have to administer the small groups, correct?
Yes, so the people that would be doing the small group would be our master teachers, our specialists, and our multi-classroom leaders. So those would be the instructional staff that are most skilled in order to deliver that. And it's not just pulling kids in a small group, obviously. It's what they're doing in that small group. But those are the 3 job titles that would be, based on data, the most effective in delivering that instruction for small groups.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Hill.
Thank you.
And team. And thank you for joining us this evening for a robust conversation on Math 1 for middle school. I turn to Dr. Hill for the draft plan in response to the 2024 Comprehensive Review Policy S-ASGP report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, you will hear a draft plan in response to the 2024 comprehensive review that was completed in the fall of 2024 through a series of board meetings. The comprehensive review is available on our website and memorialized in board docs. Before Dr. Balknight begins, I want to emphasize 3 really important points. Number 1, no decisions have been made. This draft plan was developed in response to data that was provided in the 2024 Comprehensive Review as it relates to Goal A, which states, provide choice and promote equitable access to varied and viable programmatic options. Number 2, we are committed to deeply engaging with community. In the report tonight, community members and parents and families will hear about multiple planned and structured opportunities for them to engage and to provide feedback. We want to hear from you. Number 3, a formal recommendation will be crafted based on the feedback from the community and will be presented to the Board of Education at your regularly scheduled April 28th board meeting. The board has established a 3-meeting process, which means the recommendation is presented, then 2 weeks later at your next board meeting, there is a public hearing, and then 2 weeks after that, there is a vote. I want to be clear, my commitment to this board and to the community is, if anything changes in the recommendation between April 28th and the vote on May 26th, we will go back out to the community for additional engagement. In other words, we want to make sure that everyone is clear on what the board will be voting on. We value and have prioritized transparency and community engagement. And at this time, I'll turn it to Dr. Balknight.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. I have with me tonight our Associate Superintendent, Ms. Terry Serbeck, who supports programs planning and placement. Today, we will talk about our comprehensive review draft plan in response to the 2024 comprehensive review. So in December 2024, staff completed the required 2024 comprehensive data review of our student assignment policy S-ASGP through a series of reports to the Board of Education. On January 31st, 2025, the board provided clear direction on the areas to address and requested that staff prepare a plan for their review and consideration. We're excited to speak to you today about the findings of the 2025-26 response draft plan to the 2024 comprehensive review. The agenda outlines the topics in today's presentation. We will spend time going through each item. As with everything we do in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, we are grounded in what we call the place map, which outlines our district's strategic plan and necessary goals and guardrails. All work reflected in the comprehensive data review remains firmly grounded in policy S-ASGP, the student assignment plan. We recognize that S-ASGP is a comprehensive policy containing extensive detail, guidance, and direction that establishes expectations, priorities, and key considerations. This depth and complexity are both intentional and essential as we translate policy into an actionable, data-informed draft. As we continue to review the policy alongside our current programs and practices, we're encouraged by the strong alignment with the mission established by the Board of Education. It is important to emphasize that every decision that we make remains aligned with all 5 goals in the policy. Additionally, we must continue to advance the implementation of the 2023 bond projects and address other priorities identified by the Board of Education and provided to the superintendent. The board directed staff to concentrate specifically on goals A and B of policy S-ASGP. We will explore these goals in greater depth momentarily. For today's discussion, as we reflect on our prior discussions, we ask that you keep goals A and B at the forefront. Said differently, these goals are choice and access, ensuring equitable program options for all families. Efficiency, maximizing the responsible and strategic use of resources. The board has directed us to develop meaningful draft plans informed by the feedback from the board retreat of January 2025, insights from Magnet Schools of America, and input from our broader group of stakeholders. We will keep these goals at the forefront of our time together today and will specifically look deeply at the team's draft plan aligned to Goal A. Let's explore our current state of program choice. CMS currently offers 16 choice programs across 71 schools in 3 transportation zones. Throughout the response of the draft plan to the 2024 conference review process, we have worked with a number of our partners who have supported this important work. Included in those partners is Magnet Schools of America, which completed a thorough review, including responses from 10,000 community members. Before we jump into draft plans, we want to highlight key actions that have taken place over the last year that did not require board action, but kept momentum for the progress we are taking as a district to better serve our students and families in their opportunities for school choice. Over the previous review period, the district advanced a comprehensive set of initiatives focused on strengthening access, alignment, and outcomes across the programs. To support the district's transition to digital processes, Student Programs Planning and Placement has introduced a new transfer and lottery system through the Parchment platform. Highlights of the new system include allowing a wait list for every school and providing families with multiple opportunities to accept offered seats into their choice program. In October 2025, Student Programs Planning and Placement hosted a 2-week Endless Possibilities Fair that welcomed nearly 20,000 5th and 8th grade students. All choice programs and CTE pathways were showcased, giving students firsthand exposure to the variety of academic and career-focused opportunities available. The event also engaged families through 2 consecutive weekend sessions. Together, these experiences increased awareness and highlight the truly endless possibilities within Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. Key efforts included the continuation and conversion of arts programming across elementary, middle, and high schools. STEM training was expanded through the Cal Ripken Foundation of STEM schools, including Dorothy J. Vaughn Academy of Technology at Parkside Elementary, Northeast Middle School, and Northridge Middle School. Targeted school improvements were implemented at the Dorothy J. Vaughn Academy of Technology at Parkside Elementary. An upfit initiative including the creation of a living wall, STEM-themed wraps throughout the building, and a Dorothy J. Vaughn memorial wall. Organizational improvements were made through performance areas restructuring by theme. Communication enhancements have been implemented, including comprehensive website redesigns and the addition of a dedicated call center to improve access to information and support. The call center allows staff to assist families with questions, concerns, or needs from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Our assistant superintendents facilitated intentional professional learning community meetings across the various program choice themes. These PLC meetings allow principals to collaborate around their program choice themes at a deeper level. To advance Goal 4 of our strategic plan, career and technical education will separate from school choice starting in the 27-28 school year, allowing our CTE programming to increase the number of Tier 1 and Tier 2 credentials offered at every high school. Entry and exit requirements were developed to enhance program quality and to ensure student success in their pathway. Our next step is to shift from a system centered on school choice to one that prioritizes program choice. This distinction is critical. School choice often creates competition for limited seats, uneven enrollment, transportation challenges, and resource limitations. Program choice, on the other hand, operates within a unified system by offering specialized pathways such as STEM, arts, dual language immersion, and international baccalaureate across multiple schools. This approach ensures families are choosing what students learn rather than which school they can access while preserving neighborhood connections and promoting equity. Program choice strengthens system stability, scales innovation without fragmentation, and supports socioeconomic and academic diversity. We want to make it easier for families to understand and access the amazing opportunities our district offers by separating career and technical education pathways from program choice. We can clearly showcase career-focused options while preserving the unique strengths of our academic and specialty programs by offering more robust course offerings. Creating program continuums within each transportation zone helps families see a clear path from elementary through high school without unnecessary barriers. This approach reduces transportation challenges, balances enrollment, and gives families confidence that their children can grow within a program they love. Ultimately, it's about providing clarity, equity, and a sense of connection for every family in our district. The Montessori program has 4 pre-K through 6th grades. Just one second. So under the proposed program choice framework, 6 thematic program choice pathways will be offered for families to select from. These themes will create a coherent, predictable continuum from students across elementary, middle, and high school. 5 of the themes are arts, Montessori, STEM, world languages, and international baccalaureate, learning, immersion, talent development will be available along a full K-12 continuum. The 6th theme, early college, college readiness, will serve students in grades 9 through 12. This structure enhances clarity for families, strengthens operational efficiency, and ensures equitable access to high-quality program options district-wide. As a part of this work, CMS will streamline duplicative choice programs into 6 clearly defined thematic areas, each offered across all 3 transportation zones. So let's take a moment to review each of these 6 themes. Currently, the Visual and Performing Arts Continuum has been established with the opening of full magnet programming at University Park Creative Arts Elementary School, First Ward Creative Arts Middle School, and Northwest School of the Arts. Depicted here is the placement of schools within the Visual and Performing Arts Continuum. The map represents the proposed future state to be implemented in the 2027-2028 school year. The draft proposed plan for this continuum is as follows. The Visual and Performing Arts programs will no longer be offered at Crestdale Middle School, Greenway Park Elementary School, and Long Creek Elementary School. However, all Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools will continue to offer arts enrichment classes, ensuring students will have access to arts education. The Montessori program has 4 pre-K through 6th grade schools: Lincoln Heights Montessori, Highland Mills Montessori, Billingsville Montessori, which is currently Chantilly, and Sedgeville. The Montessori program currently has healthy enrollment across the 3 transportation zones and clear continuums. We propose that the Montessori programs remain as is with all 3 transportation zones feeding to J.T. Williams for grades 7 through 12. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that J.T. Williams Montessori is the only public Montessori high school in the state. Remaining in the Montessori continuum provides consistent, personalized learning that nurtures independence, academic excellence, and social-emotional growth across all developmental stages. Depicted here is the placement of schools within the Montessori continuum. The map represents the proposed future state to be implemented in the 2027-2028 school year. Billingsville Montessori will open as included in the 2023 bond referendum in the fall of 2027. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Board of Education approved the renaming of the secondary Montessori school, former Marie G. Davis K-8 site, to J.T. Williams Secondary Montessori on January the 27th, 2026. Currently, the Learning Immersion, Talent Development, LITD programs do not continue beyond elementary school. To address this, the proposal is to create an integrated International Baccalaureate Learning Immersion Talent Development pathway that combines IB and LITD programming and ensures a seamless transition into middle school and high school. The ultimate goal is to increase the number of students who graduate with an IB diploma. In our future state, we would like for students who complete the LITD program to continue to be an IB middle school and ultimately graduate from an IB high school, ideally with their IB diploma. This theme will become the IB LITD program, and students do not have to be identified as learning immersion or talent development in elementary, as all students will participate in the International Baccalaureate beginning in kindergarten. Students will be exposed to rigorous instruction focused on critical and creative development, real-world problem solving, and higher-order thinking skills. In this proposed new structure, families will now have access to an IB LITD elementary school that will guarantee them a seat in their transportation zone's IB LITD continuum schools, including middle and high school. Here is another visual showing the draft proposed plan of the Integrated International Baccalaureate Learning Immersion Talent Development Continuum. Depicted here is the placement of schools within the IB LITD continuum. The map represents the proposed future state to be implemented in the 2027-28 school year. The draft proposed plan for this continuum is as follows. The program choice IB will no longer be offered at Statesville Road Elementary, Albemarle Road Middle School, and Ranson Middle School. The program choice LITD will no longer be offered at Tuckasegee Elementary School. The program choice IB will transition to the IB LITD program at J.M. Alexander, Piedmont Middle School, Quail Hollow Middle School, and Randolph Middle School. A full magnet IB LITD program will be added to the newly named Marie G. Davis Middle on the former Dilworth Elementary School site that will open in the fall of 2027. The programming offered at Elizabeth Traditional Elementary, Myers Park Traditional Elementary, Charles H. Parker Academic Center, Idlewild Elementary, Irwin Academic Center, Mallet Creek Elementary, and Shamrock Gardens Elementary will transition to the IB LITD program. An IB program will be added to Elbert Edwin Waddell High School in the 2028-29 school year. Currently, World Languages is a well-utilized program throughout the continuum. To increase the efficiency and effectiveness, we're proposing the addition of World Languages to Garinger High School, which sits in the Green Transportation Zone. This move would fulfill one of the approved motions of the 2023 Capital Improvement Plan for Garinger. The continuum model for World Languages program would strengthen the trajectory for students who complete their K-8 language program and continue the program in high school. Here is another visual representation of the draft plan of the World Languages continuum. Depicted here is the placement of schools within the World Languages continuum. The map represents the proposed future state to be implemented in the 2027-28 school year. There is no additional draft proposed plan needed at this time. Currently, STEM overall has strong interest and usage throughout the continuum. We will continue to implement targeted enrollment strategies to increase awareness and interest in STEM programs. While all schools include STEM as a part of the standard course of study, the STEM pathway provides a unified experience that emphasizes higher order thinking, hands-on learning, and real-world application. This pathway ensures consistent, developmentally aligned programming that builds intentionality across the K-12 continuum. We have another visual representation of the draft plan of the STEM continuum. Depicted here is the placement of the schools within the STEM continuum. The map represents the proposed future state to be implemented in the 2027-28 school year. The draft plan for this continuum is as follows. A program choice, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, also known as STEM programming, will no longer be offered at Northeast Middle School, Walter G. Byers K-8 School, Whitewater Middle School, and Wilson STEM Academy. The program choice Computer Science STEM program will no longer be offered at Harding University High School. A STEM program will be added to Second Ward High School as a part of the proposed draft plan for the 2028-29 school year. Currently, CMS offers 4 early colleges: Central Piedmont, Charlotte Teacher Early College, Charlotte Engineering, and the newly added Hawthorne Early College, and 4 middle colleges: Cato, Harper, Levine, and Marrancas. Early colleges serve grades 9 through 12, and middle colleges serve grades 11 and 12. The proposal to convert all middle colleges to early colleges in the 2027-28 school year allows more students to have access and the opportunity to take college courses while completing their high school graduation requirements, beginning at 9th grade instead of 11th grade. In addition to earning a high school diploma, students can earn up to 2 years of transferable college credit, tuition-free. Given the rigor of completing both the high school diploma and 2 years of college credit, students have an additional year to graduate. By converting middle colleges to early colleges, the district can preserve the benefits of small communities while offering clearer value, stronger programming and coherence, more equitable access to advanced academic and career opportunities for students. Please note that our early college pathways remain our most in-demand programs, resulting in extensive wait lists. Depicted here is the placement of early college schools. The map represents the proposed future state to be implemented in the 2027-28 school year. The draft plan for this continuum is as follows. All middle colleges, Cato, Harper, Levine, and Maracus, will be transitioned to early colleges, adding 9th and 10th grade students to all programs. Many questions that we have received throughout the feedback process thus far were around what happens when a program is removed from a traditional school. In the onset of the program's transition, students entering a terminal grade, rising 5th, 8th, or 12th grade students, may remain at their current school for the year of the implementation, which be 2027-28 school year. For instance, rising 8th grade students in the arts program at Crestdale Middle School will be able to remain at Crestdale for that year, and district transportation will be provided if desired. Students who are not in a terminal grade may request a transfer to remain at the school they are currently attending, even though the choice program has been removed. However, no transportation will be provided. Students can also return to their home school where transportation would be provided, or request to attend another choice program within their transportation zone that aligns with their current choice program with priority placement and transportation. The student programs planning and placement team will work closely with each family. The following slides are a summary of our draft plan for step 1 of our spring 2026 timeline. The visual and performing arts program will no longer be offered at Crestdale Middle School, Greenway Park Elementary School, Long Creek Elementary School. However, all Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools will continue to offer arts enrichment classes, ensuring students have access to the arts. The program choice IB will no longer be offered at Statesville Road Elementary, Albemarle Road Elementary School, and Ranson Middle School. The program choice LITD will no longer be offered at Tuckasegee Elementary School. The program choice IB will transition to the IB LITD program at J.M. Alexander, Piedmont Middle School, Quail Hollow Middle, and Randolph Middle School. A full magnet IB LITD program will be added to the newly named Marie G. Davis Middle on the former Dilworth Elementary School site that will open in the fall of 2027. The programming offered at Elizabeth Traditional Elementary, Myers Park Elementary, Charles H. Parker, Idlewild Elementary, Irwin Academic Center, Mallet Creek Elementary, and Shamrock Gardens Elementary will transition to the IB LITD program. An IB program will be added to Elbert Edwin Waddell High School in the 2028-29 school year. The program choice Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math STEM will no longer be offered at Northeast Middle School, Walter G. Byers K-8, Whitewater Middle School, and Wilson STEM Academy. The program choice Computer Science STEM will no longer be offered at Harding University High School. A STEM program will be added to Second Ward High School as a part of the proposed draft plan for the 2028-2029 school year. All current middle colleges, Cato, Harper, Levine, and Maracus, will transition to early colleges, adding 9th and 10th grade students to all programs. So, step 1 begins tonight. It includes the draft plan in response to the 2024 Comprehensive Review presentation, community engagement with RTI, which is our community partner, including program choice themes and continuums from March through April, The final draft plans presented to the Board of Education in April, then a public hearing in May, and the Board of Education proposed vote in May as well. We look forward to engaging the community regarding the continuums and themes presented. And step 2 of our timeline will include additional draft proposed plans with further draft plans expected in the fall of 2026. At this time, we will provide a high-level overview of the additional draft proposed plans. It is important to note that many of the following draft proposed plans will not be addressed by the Board of Education until the fall of 2026. Transparency is important to us in this process, which includes providing a complete picture of the proposed draft plans today. The first of these draft plans encompasses programming at Garinger High School. Currently, Garinger is a comprehensive high school in the Green Transportation Zone. For additional context, in February 2023, the CMS Board of Education voted the following. IMEC 912 will relocate from Cochran to Garinger High School. Modifications of the program offerings are as follows. Garinger High School will add Cambridge, exercise science, and at least 2 world language magnet programs, one of which will be Spanish and the other will be determined by the superintendent at a future date. Our proposed future state for Garinger High School, as depicted in the world languages continuum you saw earlier, will offer 2 languages. In our draft proposed plan, we would like to reduce the number of programs previously voted by the Board of Education to move into Garinger by absorbing Cambridge into the core curriculum. Currently, Cochran Collegiate Academy is a 6-12 grade school housing IMEC choice programs for grades 9 through 12. As previously mentioned, in February 2023, the CMS Board of Education voted IMEC 912 will relocate from Cochran to Garinger High School. Our proposed future state is for Cochran Collegiate Academy to become a comprehensive 6-8 middle school with an attendance boundary. As mentioned previously, a separate round of community engagement will commence in the fall to encompass any proposed boundary changes during step 2 of the draft plan in response to the 2024 comprehensive data review. Our draft plan is that Cochran Collegiate Academy will transition to a comprehensive middle school. Hawthorne Academy of Health Sciences was approved as a cooperative innovative high school in the fall of 2025. In our proposed future state, the Cooperative Innovative High School currently housed at Hawthorne will transition to Second Ward High School, scheduled to open in August of 2028. Along with this program, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Virtual Academy will also relocate to Second Ward, and a new STEM program will be added, bringing the total capacity to 1,200 seats. In alignment with Goal B of Policy S-ASGP, our aim is to maximize efficiency and utilization at Second Ward, particularly given its design as a new and innovative construction project. Our draft plan is that Program Choice Health Sciences located at Hawthorne Academy will transition to Second Ward High School. The Virtual Academy program currently located at Elbert Edwin Waddell will be relocated to Second Ward High School. Currently, Edward Elwin Waddell High School houses the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Virtual Academy and PACE programming and is not a comprehensive high school. In our proposed future state, in order to maximize the efficiency of Elbert Edward Waddell facility, we would like to reimagine Elbert Edward Waddell as a comprehensive high school with the addition of an international baccalaureate program, strengthen its academic offerings. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Virtual Academy will relocate to the Second Ward campus, while the PACE program will remain at Elbert Edwin Waddell. These shifts collectively will help balance and reduce enrollment pressure at neighboring high schools. Our draft plan for Elbert Edward Waddell High School will transition to a full comprehensive high school. As mentioned previously, a separate round of community engagement will commence in the fall to encompass any proposed boundary changes during step 2 of the draft plan in response to the 2024 comprehensive data review. The following slides are a summary of our draft plans for step 2 of our spring 2026 timeline. As mentioned previously, a separate round of community engagement will commence in the fall to encompass any proposed boundary changes during step 2 of the draft plan in response to the 2024 comprehensive data review. The Cambridge program will not be offered at Garinger High School as a part of program choice. The exercise science program will not be offered at Garinger High School. Cochran Collegiate Academy will transition to a comprehensive middle school. The Program Choice Health Sciences located at Hawthorne Academy will transition to Second Ward High School. The Virtual Academy program currently located at Elbert Edwin Waddell will be relocated to Second Ward High School. Elbert Edwin Waddell High School will transition to a full comprehensive high school with an international baccalaureate program in the 2028-29 school year. Step 2 will begin in the fall of 2026. It includes a draft plan in response to the 2024 Comprehensive Review Boundary presentation to the Board of Education in the fall, community engagement with RTI, including school boundaries in the fall, and the final draft proposed plan for school boundaries presented to the Board of Education in October, a public hearing in November, and the Board of Education proposed vote in December of 2026. Now we will transition to our summary and next steps. As a recap, the draft plan for letters A in policy S-ASGP, full choice review, and letter B, review of student boundaries, will be delivered in 2 phases. Step 1 focused on draft plans related to the 6 program choice theme continuums are being presented now, beginning tonight. Step 2, which will address the remaining draft plans, will follow in the fall of 2026. As stated, Step 1 begins tonight. It includes a draft plan in response to the 2024 Comprehensive Review presentation, community engagement with RTI, including program choice themes and continuums from March through April, the final draft plans presented to the Board of Education in April, and a public hearing in May, and the Board of Education proposed vote in May. Step 2 will begin in the fall of 2026. It includes a draft plan in response to the 2024 Comprehensive Review boundary presentation to the Board of Education in the fall, community engagement with our partner RTI, including school boundaries in the fall, the final draft proposed plan in October, a public hearing in November, and the Board of Education proposed vote in December of 2026. Said differently, Step 1 and Step 2 will have their own engagement opportunities to gain robust and intensive feedback from the community. Sharing the draft plan in response to the 2024 Comprehensive Review with the larger community is of the utmost importance. In partnership with CMS Communications, the draft plan will be shared via Parent Square, social media, Charlotte-Mecklenburg School's website, and community events and outreach. Now we will transition to a brief recap of the 2023 bond referendum. It is important to note that on November 7, 2023, prior to the launch of the Comprehensive Data Review, the 2023 bond referendum was passed. Mecklenburg County residents voted to approve the $2.5 billion bond in order to modernize and replace aging, overcrowded school facilities by building new schools, renovating existing campuses, and improving safety and learning environments, such as enhanced security, up-to-date technology, and accessibility. These student-facing capital initiatives, 30 projects across Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, also include relieving overcrowding and reducing reliance on trailers. The bond process included a timeline for these improvements, which drove many of the district's next steps. Listed here are highlighted project delivery date changes. For additional information and updates on the 2023 bond, please access the CMS Bond Construction website. Thank you for your time and attention to this important information. I will turn it back over to Chair Sneed for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bachnight, Dr. Hill, for that presentation. There's a lot of information to absorb, board members and the public. I mean, we've seen it a few times now already, and it's still a lot. So I know the community is going to have a lot of questions, and the board members may have questions as well. So we will start our normal cadence and ask some questions. I think first hand I see is Board Member Monterey Duval.
Awesome. I have a few questions, so maybe I'll just do 2 or something, but I think you can just. Okay, the first thing, as part of the policy S-AGSP, one of the things that is in there is it talks about concentration of poverty. It talks about socioeconomic status. How are we looking at that when we talk about this transition? Do we, I want to start with that question. How are we thinking about that? That has been a big concern from the community that I've heard thus far, so I wanted to first tackle that one.
That's a great question. So one of the things that we do is we make decisions, and as we've talked about, have the same 6 themes in all transportation zones. We certainly look at our socioeconomic, our SES, every time we make decisions. And so we balance our schools with a balance of enrollment, but we also want to make sure that we provide core experiences every transportation zone, which we believe also will provide the same equity and access to all families, and will reduce the efficiencies or increase efficiencies and reduce time on bus routes and other things, which will provide a better experience for all students across the district.
So right now, there's current programs that exist.
Yes.
So we're moving XYZ programs to this new program. So we're saying, I think an example is the arts program. There's a couple of elementary schools that have an arts partial magnet, and they're going to be routed to the creative arts magnet in Uptown. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, in these scenarios, what happens, like, is there an expiration point on that period of grandfathering in? Like, what happens after that cohort, turns over? Like, what does that mean for that cohort of students?
So as we shared, the families will have several options. So for our terminal grade students, 5th, 8th, and 12th, we would work with those families to complete that grade span of that commitment that we've made to them with bus transportation and a seat to remain in that school. For other families that decided they wanted to stay in the school because it was the right fit for their child, we would work with those families and work with them to get a transfer to remain in the school as long as the child is in good standing. The parent would need to provide transportation. Or if the parents want the arts program because it's a district-wide magnet, then we would, of course, provide transportation to the district-wide magnet, elementary, middle, or high, wherever the child is in the county, and we would commit to them having a seat in that program. So in other words, they would not lose. If they truly committed to program choice and not a school, then they would go where the program is. And because that's a magnet, they would go to the one district feeder. But if it happened to be a program that was available in each transportation zone, then we'd offer them the one in the transportation zone.
Got it, because in theory, the 6 themes are available in every transportation zone.
That's right. And if they're not in every transportation zone, then that means it's a district-wide magnet and every child in the district would have access.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
I want to start by saying thank you so much for all of the hard work that was put into this. I know that you said in the very beginning a comprehensive review should be done every 4 years, but I believe it was 2017 the last time this was done. So you all completed a lot in this comprehensive review. So you did share a few slides back about community engagement. Can you share high level or the ways that parents and families in the community will be alerted? It'll be Parent Square and other social media, other avenues, but can you briefly share maybe high level what community engagement will look like? Where will we be out? Where will you all be out in the community?
Yes, ma'am, that's a great question. So one of the things that we gather great feedback from the community is that don't just go to certain schools, make sure that all the community has access. So we have committed to going to every comprehensive high school and hosting a day of community engagement. And so we'll have those presentations every 2 hours. That'll all be posted on our website tonight, and families can decide which one they would be interested in. It'll be communicated in multiple ways through our comms department, our communications department, but we'll be at those schools all day from early in the morning to late at night to meet with families. They will see the same presentation, and then our partner RTI will step back and they will do engagement with the community members so we can get true, authentic feedback from our community so we can make great recommendations to you moving forward. And then we'll be there to answer any questions that they may have. We'll collect all of that feedback as we go along the way, and then we'll synthesize all that to bring back to the board. In addition, it'll be posted on our website. So if you are someone that can't get to one of the comprehensive high schools for a day of community engagement, just for one session, then you can certainly watch this again on our website, and we will have a way for you to submit feedback digitally into a document so that we can capture that as well.
Thank you.
So what's the total number of sessions?
There's 20 sessions across the month of March and April.
20 days and
20
then
days.
20 days and then
They'll
how?
be 2 hours apart, starting at 7:30. The last session will be at 5:30.
20 times.
20
But it'll be at
times.
different high schools across the county, and we've already received feedback about adding some Saturdays, so we have taken that feedback. So additional days could be added.
There's a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did you have a follow-up? All right, Board Member Hatch.
I echo what Board Member London said. Thank you for this detailed review. One kind of tactical question is around some of the placements in the high schools, and just I'm curious about specifically in the purple zone with West Charlotte and North Meck. And North Meck have an opportunity to have 2 program choices there, but there are other high schools kind of further in the north, and so I didn't know if there was an opportunity to look at potentially recalibrating so that the most northern part of the district sees some kind of program choice up there as well.
We will certainly look at that. One of the things, so I'm glad you asked that question, that we take into consideration, we also have to make sure before we commit to guaranteeing seats for students from middle school to high school, that the schools have space. Oftentimes, some of those schools that you're speaking of are already full or over capacity, so that causes an issue as well. But we certainly will take that into feedback and look at that as well.
Thank you. And then I wanted to follow up on Board Member London's question, but I'd like to distinguish between communication and change management, and just curious around the change management strategies, because communication, of course, is saying here's where we're communicating, but making sure people understand that it's adopted and digested. Do we have any kind of strategies, or are we working with our community engagement partner to help with that piece?
So one of the things, I'm going to take a stab at answering your question. So one of the things that we are doing, as I said, is we're using a third-party provider so that we can get the deep engagement, and they will ask additional questions as the community gives us feedback. We will synthesize those things and then look to see trends and other things to make sure that's a common theme, for example, that a certain area of the community or a certain group has shared. And then as we've already started doing community engagement, our first group was, we met with our 71 choice principals first. So we've gotten feedback from them as well, and have already taken that into account to make sure that it makes sense and that it is an appropriate thing to communicate out, that's feasible, and that they can support as well as we move forward.
Thank you.
And I'll follow up with that. So the change management piece would happen after the board has approved whatever recommendation, which is why these, this plan, whatever adopted plan, will not go into effect for an entire year. So from the time that it's approved in May, we will have a full year that we will be working, that will be the year of the change management, to work with families that would be impacted, going through what is it that they want, if they're in a terminal year, do they want to stay, what that will look like for each impacted family.
Thank you, Dr. Hill, for providing that clarity, and also upfitting and training staff. That may be new, and because we, again, want to make sure that these 6 themes are implemented with fidelity across all the transportation zones.
That was going to be my next question, so thank you.
Okay, great.
Vice Chair Rankin.
I know you discussed the modes of communication that will be done, but I want to specifically, can you talk through who will be receiving the communication? Like, if it's only the parents in the violet zone, will they be only receive the links or communication about those that in that particular zone? Or will every parent using all those different modes get all the communication across the district?
Thank you so much for lifting that, because that's important. So every time that we go out into the community will hear the entire presentation, because this impacts the entire district, because many of these programs are magnet, which means anyone from anywhere in the county can attend. So every time we go out into the community, and even on our website, it will speak to the entire plan, because we don't want people to get pieces of information. We want them to see the whole plan and be able to give feedback on the entire plan.
So everybody will get it everybody across the district will get all the dates and all the communication?
Yes, everything will go out consistently across the district, and every presentation will be the same and consistent.
Okay.
But this will be blasted across the district. It will not be the purple zone or the violet zone will get information about just their zone. They would get invited to any meeting they choose to come to across the district that works for their schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Haynes.
Yes, my question is around the International Baccalaureate Program and Learning Immersion / Talent Development. There seems to be a little bit of confusion within the community, and then it's causing me a little confusion, so this will be helpful. Can you distinguish the difference between the International Baccalaureate Program, Learning Immersion, and Talent Development? And then after that, I'll have a follow-up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for asking that question. So our International Baccalaureate program would be offered K-12. So in elementary and middle school, students get exposed to all of the fundamental concepts and exposure to additional languages and other things K-8. This gets them prepared to consider participating in the IB diploma at the high school level. Every student in all of these schools will participate in an International Baccalaureate program. You don't have to qualify for anything other than you decide that you want that program choice and that experience for that exposure to world languages and other things that works with character education, all the things that would develop our students. And then you would go into the intensive pathway at the high school level for the IB diploma. While that's occurring, students that are identified LITD or academically gifted would need to qualify, and then they would participate in the program. They would be taught by teachers that have those certifications at the classroom level, and they would get the additional support. But in any school in the district, if you're identified LITD or gifted, you would receive those services. So this would be a different experience in that kids would have that experience together as a group. But every student in the school would receive the IB program and concepts, and we would also work to develop those students that aren't identified as gifted. We would develop those with those enrichment activities as well, so all students would benefit. So what you'll see going forward is you will not see a group of students doing something totally different. All the students will get a rich experience in the school.
Okay, so in other words, if a parent chooses, or parents choose this particular option, they get the benefit of the LITD and the IB. However, if they choose to stay in their home school, they still have access to LITD?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
is this
If
the
you
only-
you're correct. So if you qualify as identified student, then no matter where you are in the district, we still give you those services. No different than a child that has an individualized education plan, no matter where they are in the district, they would receive those services. A student that's identified gifted would receive those services. It would just look different potentially. So for example, oftentimes at a school that's not LITD, an identified gifted teacher may come and pull students out for 45 minutes per content area once or twice a week. But in an immersion program like this, the teachers would receive a local endorsement, and so the classroom teacher would be able to use those strategies, and they'd be embedded all day in all the student experiences throughout the school day and the instruction. And then a teacher may come in and support them. So it'd be a very different approach, and it'd be at a different level of intensity for the students.
Thank you so much. I think parents would really appreciate the fact that if they have children that are LITD, that they're not locked into this one school, so that's very helpful.
That's correct. You will receive those services. If you go through the process and you are identified, because students have to take an assessment, then you would receive those services if you are placed into the program.
Thank you.
I got you. Vice Chair Rankin.
Just for clarity, I want to follow what Board Member Haynes was saying. Actually, are you only referring to LITD, or are you also referring to IB?
I'm concerned about the LITD because essentially parents may be a little concerned when they see this, that if their child is identified as LITD, that they would have to go to this set of schools. And what Dr. Balknight is saying is that that's not the case, but this is an enhanced experience
Yes, that
for
is
the
correct.
LITD.
Go ahead, ask your question.
That's correct.
That's what she's
Wait a
saying.
minute. Just this is clarity for me now, because now we're throwing this, LITD is something that's going on at a particular school, but when we're talking about AIG, are we talking about AIG students? Because that's something totally different to me, that you have to test and get that particular services you're talking about. What the LITD is going to be school-wide for that particular school.
So
All students won't have access to if you don't qualify.
Right.
if you qualify for academically, intellectually gifted,
Yeah,
no matter where
yes.
you are in the district, you're going to receive those services. That is a piece of the LITD program. And I believe the question was, will students still have access to that? That is different, and that's what I described. That's where the teacher may come in and pull me out twice a week to receive those services, but I'm still getting my enrichment services because I qualify. But when I go to an LITD school, it's a different concept. School students are grouped together. There may be 20 students that have signed up for that program in a classroom together, and they will get a different enriched experience. But that does not take away from the child that decides not to go to that school and stay in their home school, and they utilize their academically, intellectually gifted plan.
Yes.
Does that answer the question better?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it does.
So it is different, it's a different experience, but no child is going without the services that they are entitled to because they've qualified, if that answers.
Intellectually gifted, you're only going to get it through an LITD
Right.
program. We cannot do that.
Right.
But it could look and feel different because now I have a group of 300 kids in one school that all have that qualification, and so we can do different things together, and the instruction could look different, and that's the difference with the experience.
Yeah, but.
They already do it.
Wait, 1 second. Board Member Monterey Duval's next. I'll hold my question, but it's about the LITD too.
Mine too.
Well, go ahead.
Are all AIG LITD? Like if I'm AIG, I qualify for the LITD, but is everybody on LITD? Yes. Is everybody in LI/TD AIG? That's my question.
Which is a term that we use. It's also if they fall under the academically, intellectually gifted. You have to qualify for those services. Today, you have schools where students participate in the program, and then there are other students in the school that do not have access to that different instruction. And what we're saying is if you put International Baccalaureate together, which exposes them to other enrichment experiences in the school, all children will receive that, but I still will qualify for my placement in the academically, intellectually gifted program to be a part of the additional enrichment pieces. But in the school, all students will get the exposure and the experience. But any child, no different than think about a child that has an individual education plan, an IEP. No matter where they are in the district, we serve them. No matter where they are in the state or the country, they get served. And that's what we're saying, they would still get served.
Is your follow up?
But do they get tested for AIG
Yes.
with LITD
Second grade.
in the second grade?
Oftentimes, grades K through 2, I know why you're asking that question. It is extremely rigorous. You have to be 3 grade levels above, for example, to place into academically gifted in kindergarten. So it's very difficult. So oftentimes, students are in our LITD programs, and we work to cultivate that assessment by 3rd grade. And what I'm saying is in these environments, with the IB program to enhance it and the LITD, we want to grow more kids into the enrichment program, the AIG program, so all the kids will be exposed. Today, it's very difficult to place students in K2 because it's very difficult for kids to place. As they get older, the deficit is smaller in that the percentage that they need to place is not as stringent as it is when you go into kindergarten. You have to be 3 grade levels above to place. It is very difficult for a child to place in K2.
And the state plan requires a component, what is it called, nurturing?
Yes, that's the nurturing piece, thank you. And so we have a piece here where we nurture students, and that's what we do with our K2 students, and that may be where the confusion is with our LITD, because oftentimes students aren't quite there yet, but we see that they're higher than other students, and so we work with them to grow that giftedness. And we see that that works. That's why we continue to do that, and that's very common.
So they grow into AIG, basically?
As they grow academically, their cognitive ability is reflected in the assessments as they get older.
Got it. Okay.
Many students don't identify as academically, intellectually gifted until 5th grade, and that's okay. And we're saying in this environment, we would cultivate, that's the goal, to cultivate more of those students to make sure that we're providing exposure to all the students in the program, because our goal would be to help them qualify for those programs if they're interested.
Okay.
And can I just say one more thing? Sorry. I think it might be helpful that we can we just presented our AIG plan last year, I believe.
Yes.
Was it approved last year or the year
Yes,
before?
maybe the
We
year
can
before.
resend that where it walks through all of those different programs, and definitely, I mean, all the questions you are asking will be added to our FAQ as well. So we'll make sure that that's available too.
And we work to identify them by third grade. So oftentimes, as I said, many kids in the program are not officially identified until third grade, but by third grade, in our current state, we want to identify them by third grade. And now we're saying that they could stay in the program whether they qualify by third grade or not, because it's LITD and IB. So think about the child that doesn't qualify. They still would have access and opportunity and exposure to this enriched programming, whereas many children qualify in third grade, but most families don't want to move their student into a school at third grade. So we want to capture kids in kindergarten, and then it's on us to help grow and cultivate that.
That makes sense.
You have a question about Ella?
No.
Well, let me just ask this,
Okay.
and then I'll come to you. So, AIG students are not going to have the same experience if they're not in an LITD specific school. The experience is different. I mean, they may have some exposure, but it's not the same thing that's happening at a full LITD school. Yes?
A program choice school should be and will be very different than a school, because that is the purpose of program choice. We don't want you to choose the school, we want you to choose the program. And one of the things, as Dr. Hill said, we would take a full year to prepare. One of the things that we would do is we'd work with the principals to make sure all their teachers had the local AIG endorsement. So not just the teacher that's pulling you out in a non-LITD school that pulls you twice a week for 45-minute sessions. Your teacher in your classroom would teach everything at that level of rigor with enrichment, so that you're getting that exposure all day. So it would be very different, you're exactly right. But it would not be so different that I'm in this school that's a partial magnet, and my experience is different than the child that's identified LITD. All kids would have opportunity and access to great enhanced programming at a program choice school.
So explain it to me in a different way. I'm gonna use Irwin as an example. Irwin's LITD. So how will that look different? How will Irwin look different?
So we've already started working with Irwin, so thank you for asking. One of the things that we're working with, we had principals go to training at the University of Connecticut this summer to Confertute, because that's where the Gifted Learning Conference is. They've started building in some of those enrichment activities school-wide, because while we have children there that are identified LITD as, again, K2 students may or may not be. So it's on us to work to help those kids nurture them and cultivate them so that ultimately by third grade they can test for AIG in place. But if they do not place, we still have other enrichment experiences for them. Many students don't even place until the 5th grade, which is okay. But what we want in a program choice, like when we transition Dorothy J. Vaughan to Parkside, we want the whole school to have an experience. We want to move away from it's a partial program and only the kids in the partial program in those seats get something different. We're saying now the whole school feels different. All students get a level of different in this program choice. Because you've left your neighborhood school, we want you to feel that the experience is different and worth it, and we intend to train our staff, and it should feel different to families, and it should be amplified beyond the regular core experience in one of our schools across the district. But again, as I said, as I presented, we're recommending moving arts from some schools, but every child will still have access to arts education. So I think it's a great question, because we want to be clear that while we're saying that we're going to have these LITD IB schools as our proposal, we're not taking away from the child that is AIG that wants to stay in their home school. It will look different because it could be 20 students in that versus an entire school of children that are identified.
Let me, because I'm skipping over, she's been waiting. Let me get to Board Member Stone. Thank you.
I just have a process question. So thank you, Dr. Bachman. This has been very informative and very helpful. The question I have is, after the initial round of student engagement, when you're looking again at all the feedback and altering the plans, how do you anticipate turning a new, I mean, I don't anticipate that you're gonna have a lot of changes, but if you do, or one that significantly changes the plan, how would that affect the timeline for a final recommendation to the board on the 28th?
So as Dr. Hill said, that if we go back out into the community, we bring the plan in April to this board,
Right.
and you give us additional feedback, then we would go back out into the community and start over. Because we want to make sure if we change something here, that we have taken the time to get feedback on that specific thing from the community. The goal would be that we spend enough time in the community at this point, which is why we're going to all the comprehensive high schools, that we would come back to the board and we would have collected enough information to give changes to these recommendations with feedback, that the board would approve those to move forward to the public hearing. But we would not go to the public hearing unless the board is satisfied with our proposal at that time.
Okay, thanks, because I misunderstood that. I thought maybe you were going to take those changes again back out to, and do the round.
If we need to, yes, ma'am.
Wow, great work. This is impressive.
You had another follow-up? Oh, but you have a follow-up, Cynthia? Okay.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, so this is how I'm understanding what you're saying. What you're saying is we have AIG in the schools depending on how you test. If a child has tested for AIG and that child goes to this IB program, that child is entitled to enhanced services based on the testing.
Yes.
But if there are children who have not tested, then they get these other experiences, but it's still not the same experience as a child who tests into AIG. Am I correct in that thinking?
We would still provide additional amplified experiences. Yes, you're correct, for the child that is actually identified academically, intellectually gifted, even if they're in an LITD program. But the entire school will have amplified services that would still be different than a school that is not LITD.
Gotcha.
So it'd be an and.
Okay, thank you. I think that helps.
All right, so this is my last question on that, but I have a couple other questions. You talk about LITD and then IB. IB is not necessarily gifted. That's just I just want to be clear, because we're talking about LITD and IB programs, and they're two different distinct.
That is correct.
Two different distinct things. And then last question about this follow-up is how are we ensuring that children that have been a part of LITD, that they're not going to now get a watered down experience?
Because one of the things that we've said by going from 16 themes to 6 is that we want to take the entire year, if it is approved, to spend time investing in our staff, to train them, to ensure that no matter what transportation zone, if you've committed to an LITD IB program, that it is truly a different experience. Every school has arts enrichment, but if you're going to put your child on a bus or drive your child to a program choice theme, then it needs to be different and amplified, and we need to show what that difference is, which is why we also talked about the principals are now assigned by assistant superintendent by theme, so we're already making moves in this direction, and they're planning together as a PLC. We all have the standard course of state of North Carolina that we all use. That's the base. But now we're also going to ensure that we amplify those experiences aligned to the theme. Every school in the state teaches STEM as aligned to the standard course of study. But if you go to a STEM school, then it may look differently in your high school or your middle school, because we're going to have enhanced experiences, activities, and things amplified in the curriculum. We would work with our curriculum team to make sure that as we're teaching whatever the standard is, that we've amplified some STEM enhancement activities that may look different. We also partner, for example, with our elementary schools with STEM, with UNC Charlotte, to make sure that that resource is amplified differently, no different than we do our dual language programs. So it will be different, and that is the purpose of reducing the themes, because as we reduce the themes, then we can focus on the ones that our community has said they have the most interest in, and put our financial resources there to support it as well.
Okay, I feel like
Can I speak to your first question about the statement that you made, which is correct? LITD and IB are not the same.
Right.
But from a strategic standpoint, the reason why we are pairing them together is, we talk about IB elementary, we talk about IB middle. The IB diploma, kids that are in elementary and middle, not all those kids are getting IB diplomas. The IB diploma is the most rigorous diploma you can earn. So it would make sense from a strategic standpoint from elementary school to pair that LITD program with IB, because you'd basically be nurturing students through the entire pathway, elementary, middle, high, and if they choose, then those LITD students are prime candidates for the IB diploma. So that's the primary reason that you're correct. They are not the same, but the experience, everything that goes into an IB education lines up to students potentially earning the most rigorous diploma that exists.
So kind of keeping on that same thing, you indicated, so now teachers, there'll be additional staff trained in whatever, if it's LITD, whether it's IB. So what do you anticipate? Because now it looks like a broader training is needed for more personnel. So what do you anticipate the budgetary impacts of moving to this model would be?
So one of the things that we've already started doing as we were focusing on, as we talked about strategies earlier today with Math 1 in middle school, we already trained our Math 1 teachers last year, second semester, and this past summer to get the local AIG endorsement in middle school. Because as Dr. Hill said, for example, if you take Math 1 in middle school, you're advanced. So we have the staff already in-house that can train for the local endorsement. And so a lot of these things, remember we said we were doing a lot of things that didn't require board action just to continue to improve the programs that we already have. So we have a lot of these things already in place. We will need to spend some additional funding because we'll have to train these schools in the IB process. And so that will be a third-party provider, but we will reduce the number of schools that have IB. So for example, one of our schools today has 38 IB students. And so to remove those resources from that school to put in a school that we're recommending will remain, it's not new resources, it's just concentrating the resources in the fewer programs. And so it would be, again, removing some of the things that we're spending money on to align based on what our community has already said to us about these are the ones of high interest and the consistency in the transportation zones to make sure that if you're an IB school, you need to have an IB coordinator and to make sure that's consistent across the district K-12.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. The other question I have is, what will be the strategy to give individual families support and communication, or is there going to be any individual communication with families, particularly of those programs that it is going to not be at that school anymore, like the 38 kids at whatever school it is, but that's no longer going to have IB? Is it going to be any individual contact with those families?
Yes, ma'am. So one of the things that we actually did this year, so for example, Marie G. Davis, we met with families that were impacted by the attendance boundary changes for the next upcoming school year. We had times at the school to meet with families, and we did that across any school that is impacted by attendance boundary changes. So we would treat these families the same way. They would get a personal phone call. We would schedule time to meet with them to make sure they know their options, because we don't want them to hear it secondhand. We want them to talk to the student assignment folks to know you have multiple choices. You can go to your home school. You can stay there if you're in a terminal grade. If you can provide transportation, you can also stay at the school. Or you could decide, I really love this program, then we will guarantee you a seat in that same program in your transportation zone. So we want to make sure that those families hear from the experts and not from someone else, and not have to figure it out on their own, because we want to have a great handoff for them to make sure that they're clear on what their options are. And so that would also occur over this next year several times with those families.
Then my last question, I promise. Can you explain a little bit more about the CTE alignment? Because what I'm envisioning, I'm just looking at the fact that, let's just say one school has auto mechanics repair and another doesn't. Like, how are we making, what does that, can you just explain a little more what that alignment looks like and the opportunities that students have to develop a trade while they're in school?
So one of the things that I lifted is that we want to focus on having Tier 1 credentials, but we also want to make sure that we go higher, as outlined in Goal 4, with Tier 2 and 3. And in order to do that, we need to separate the two. CTE, which is based on the Perkins federal expectations, was not intended necessarily for choice. It was really intended for kids to have access to workforce readiness.
Right.
And so that's exactly what I said, like about a child with an IEP or a child with an AIG plan. No matter where they are in the district, they're entitled to it. So we want to make sure that we separate the two so the parents know that is available at your school. How do we build the pathways at schools?
Right.
We have to do surveys and get feedback from our students. We also work with our local partners to get the job forecasts and other things where they can actually, where there's a pathway for workforce readiness, whether it's from high school, college, or military, enrolled, enlisted, employed, bottom line. And so one of the things that we'll do, which is why we said 27, 28, we'll also spend the next year working with all of our high schools to build out a set number of pathways that will be consistent at our large high schools and a set number for our smaller schools based on interests of students and based on things that end in a professional career, a work experience for students, and then they can have internships and apprenticeships. And we want to connect our business partners with schools so that business partners begin to know this school has several pathways with tier 1, 2, or 3 credentials in this area. As a business partner in Mecklenburg County, I want to connect with this high school. So that's work that we can do that does not require board action, so we've already started that work.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Board Member Monterey Duval.
Since we're talking about CTE, this is my final question. When we talk about career and technical education, this is feedback that I've gotten from the community. We have, 65 to 70% Black and brown students in CMS. And CTE, for whatever reason, has this bad rap of being, like Board Member London says, dingy, dark, and dangerous. And I've heard from my constituents of how are we making sure that students are not racially or socioeconomically profiled and pushed into CTE because that's the path, or why bother going to college? How are we making sure that kids know that these are all of the options? You don't have to do you don't have to pigeonhole yourself. I don't know if there's I don't know if that can be help with policy or anything like that, but are we thinking about that? And
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you asked that question because I do want everyone to hear. In fact, I just talked with someone earlier today and they said they had been meeting with principals, and some of the feedback from principals is that our Goal 4 has allowed them to have more individual conversations with students. And they're starting those conversations earlier, as we've talked about with our learner profiles, as early as middle school. We have career development counselors in our middle schools now. And so we're making sure that kids understand, if I take this course, here's a pathway, whether I want to go straight from high school to work or to college. We have AP CTE courses. So when we talk about advanced placement, so we are educating all of our kids and our families because we know that all kids need to be exposed. It is not for the child that's going necessarily just to work. It's for kids that are going to university as well. And we have multiple pathways. We're asking our principals and counselors to have conversations with kids as early as 7th grade, but again, before they do your 4-year plan in high school, and that all of our kids take a career and technical education course, not just the children that people assume will not be going off to college or to the military, but also those that are going to a 2-year institution like CPCC or going to work. All kids, CTE is for everyone. And that is the work of everyone here, is to make sure that that is the message out in the community. That is our attitude in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, that CTE is for everyone. We're having deeper conversations across the county, with Charlotte Works and other groups, to make sure that we get that message out, because it is for everyone, for the advanced student, for the student that's going to graduate from high school and go to work, for the child that's going to go into the military. And so that's why we're building out these strong pathways separate from program choice at every high school.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, had a robust conversation. Thank you so much for this being comprehensive. And I think that we can move to our last item for this evening, is the superintendent report. I turn to Dr. Hill.
Thank you. My report tonight will highlight examples of excellence across 4 pillars. Charlotte-Mecklenburg school students earned Gold Key, Silver Key, and Honorable Mention Awards in the 2026 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, the nation's longest-running and most prestigious recognition program for creative students in grades 7 through 12. Students can apply in more than 20 categories of art and writing. CMS students competed regionally against 26 other counties in our region. Here are a few highlights. Teachers Selena Tell, Cody Hall, Lynn Wu, and Brian Wilson students each earned 3 Gold Key Awards, which is extraordinary. Myers Park High School Visual Arts Program earned 14 awards overall. South Mecklenburg High School Silver Key winners Caroline Lewis's work, under the direction of teacher Amy Miller, has been chosen for an Adams outdoor billboard that will be displayed in Charlotte. CMS Visual Arts programs earned 22% of the awards. You can find a complete list of our Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards on our district's website in the Excellence Without Exception section. 5 schools have been named Magnet Schools of Distinction by Magnet Schools of America. Those schools are Billingsville Cotswold Elementary for IB, North Mecklenburg High School IB, Piedmont Middle IB, Ray Farms STEAM Academy for STEAM, and South Academy of International Languages for language immersion. Additionally, we're proud to share that 13 schools have earned the AP School Honor Roll recognition. Those in the bronze category are Cato Middle College, Levine Middle College, and Philip O'Berry Academy of Technology. Silver, David W. Butler High, East Mecklenburg High, Marinkus Middle College High, and Myers Park High. Gold is Northwest School of the Arts, Providence High School, South Mecklenburg High School, and William Amos Huff High School. And platinum is Audrey Kell High School and J.T. Williams Secondary Montessori. For People Excellence, we would like to congratulate students for the amazing shake. We have Ariana Arnett from Albemarle Road Middle, Avery Brown from J.M. Robinson Middle, Elijah Corbett, from McClintock Middle, who earned first place overall. Noah, these are all students, I'm sorry, not adults. Noah David from J.M. Robinson Middle School, Bianca Enriquez from McClintock Middle, Harper Cunnell from First Word Creative Arts Middle, Adeline Rayleigh from Bailey Middle, Serena Samara from JM Middle, and Avaya Sandeep from Ray Farm STEAM Academy. Alexis, who is a senior at Independence High School, has been awarded the 2026 Johnston Ziegler Youth Leadership Scholarship by Teen Health Connection, which provides integrated medical and behavioral health services. This is really cool. The $10,000 scholarship recognizes Alexa's leadership and advocacy in service to underserved communities and supports her higher education pursuit. She bought free, accessible first aid and CPR training to families and youth in her community after identifying critical gaps in emergency preparedness during a medical emergency at an event at her church. You can read more about Alexis and her project and her future plans on our district website. And finally, I would like to say that this week we are celebrating Public Schools Week, which is a celebration that brings together educators, district leaders, parents, community, and advocates nationwide to spotlight the strengths and promise of our public schools by showcasing the dynamic work happening in our classrooms every day. Here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, we are committed to excellence and opportunity for every student every day. And Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hill, and congratulations to all of the students that you mentioned on their accomplishments. And there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.